You know, when I made this video about Sam Taylor Johnson last week, there were a lot of women who really struggled with it. They said, "EB, you hate older women. You're ageist," because I pointed out that Miss Sam Taylor Johnson here has a very problematic origin story as far as her husband. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. I'm going to explain why Sam Taylor Johnson's marriage to Aaron Taylor Johnson, why the origin story of that marriage is so problematic, and I'm going to prove why it's problematic through the example of 3 age gap relationships, all of which are relationships between older women and younger partners, and I'm going to show you why those aren't problematic, but this is. When it comes to the signs of a healthy age gap relationship, there's basically 3 things that you're looking for. You're looking for the stage of life that both partners are at the current moment, at the time they get together. You're also looking for power dynamics, and you're looking for pacing. If we just go ahead and look at those 3 things, we already see some major red flags getting thrown up here. But let me show you some healthy age gap relationships to really illustrate this pattern to you. Starting off strong here, number 1, we've got Cher and Alexander Edwards. The two of them have a 40-year age difference. Alexander here is in his late 30s and Cher is in her 70s. Yet somehow it works. Why does it work? Why is this healthy and not creepy like Sam Taylor Johnson's relationship story? It's because these are actually a pretty equal pair, a pretty equal duo. Alexander here has worked in the music industry with celebrities for years and years and years. He has a very successful career. He's made a lot of money. He's dated other celebrities. He has a son with someone who is very often in like tabloid pop culture kind of stuff. So while there's a huge age difference between them, they're actually at pretty similar stages in life. They met organically at a shared interest, Paris Fashion Week, which is also kind of a networking event. They have complementary careers, and it just actually is quite a nice organic little fit, right? She's not his boss. There's no weird power dynamics. She doesn't have necessarily more money than him. She might, but he definitely has enough money for himself. So it's a pretty equal, even partnership. And the second great example of what I think personally is a healthy age gap relationship is this one, the relationship between Sarah Paulson and Holland Taylor. They first met years and years ago, in the early 2000s, I believe, but they were both paired up at the time, so it was, ships passing in the night. Somewhere around 2015, they connected on Twitter over some shared interests, started messaging each other, and the connection hit. There is a 31-year age difference between this couple, but it works, it's healthy, it's not creepy. Why? Because Sarah already had a very successful career in her own right. Holland did not have some kind of weird power dynamic over her. They were, again, met organically, had shared interests, and no one kind of had a power to lord over the other. They were at similar stages of life, and it worked when it worked. You can hear Sarah talk about this. And just look at the way they look at each other. I don't know if they're still together, but that was, come on. And last but not least, Heidi Klum and her new hubby, Tom Cowlitz. Did I say that right? Tom Cowlitz. Anyway, there's a 17-year age difference between the two. Things kind of happened fast, right? It took them about a year to get engaged and then to get married. But again, he's in his 30s. He's in his mid-30s. I don't know if he's had kids, but he's obviously had serious relationships. He's a full adult, fully able to make choices for himself. They met at a party. They didn't meet when he was working beneath her and dependent on her for money or his career or anything else. So again, it's an equal partnership, an organic meaning, natural, healthy, adults. And that's what kind of brings us back around to Sam Taylor Johnson and Aaron Taylor Johnson. You see, they, according to the official story, okay, don't shoot me guys, according to the official story, they met when he was 18 years old, filming a movie for her. So she was his boss. She was his 42-year-old married boss, and he was an 18-year-old freshly out of high school adult. Now, is that technically legal? Yes, but here's why it's problematic. Sam was his boss. She was his boss. So immediately that sets off the red flag for power dynamics. Second of all, he was an 18-year-old adult. We're talking about someone who could just legally have his own credit card for the first time, who could just buy his own home for the first time, completely do what he wanted, as he wanted, where he wanted in life for the first time. Imagine when you were 18 and fresh out into the world by yourself. When you come across an adult, someone who already has their own credit cards, businesses, accountants, financial advisors, a career, a family, all of those things, it's a very different relationship. You view those things as an 18-year-old very differently than when you're a 30-year-old. And seeing those things can manipulate the views, the behaviors, the decision making of an 18-year-old, especially if you're also that 18-year-old's boss and he's reliant on you for the next stage, the next step in his career. Ooh, big red flag. And that is what makes this relationship so problematic. She was his boss. He was barely out of his childhood. His brain was still in major stages of development, and meanwhile, she was already an adult with a marriage and a whole life. It just, something smacks off about that origin story. And so does Aaron's comments like this when he talks about, as a teenager, already living a life that was more hardcore than his friends. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I want to know what's going on in your heads, and follow for more.